Welcome, everyone. This is the December meeting for TV Toastmasters, but the November 16th meeting here in the studio. I'm Rick Davis. I'm the president of TV Toastmasters, and I'd like to welcome some guests today. Janet Caslin, who is our Area 52 governor. I want to congratulate our new secretary, Patti, who is going to speak later. Yay! I want to welcome our new member, Susan Russell, who's timing today. And I want to remind everyone that the International Speech Contest will be February 15th, so everybody sign up for that. If you have 6 speeches under your belt, you can participate in the International Speech Contest and go on to Malaysia, maybe, right?
Expense paid free.
Yeah, there you go. I would like to introduce our Toastmaster for today, the lovely Kormelink. Carol.
Thank you, Mr. President, fellow Toastmasters, and our viewing audience at home. Paul has chosen a great word for us today, and let us welcome Paul Wessels, competent communicator, for our word of the day.
Carol, wow, what an introduction. I can't believe that. This is fantastic. I guess as grammarian, I'm not even sure what I'm supposed to do based on all that definition there, but I think I'll be able to handle it. The word of the day, I'd like to bring in a new word. We try to use a new word, or bring actually a word in that we use when we're up here speaking. And the word of the day that I brought was stupendous. Stupendous, and what I'm going to do is I'm going to leave it up here so that you can see the word stupendous. Try to use stupendous when you come up here and speak. The definition of stupendous, it's an adjective. It means better than you expect. So stupendous, please try to use that word today. Used in a sentence, the grammarian was stupendous today. So there we go. Carol, thank you.
Thank you for that stupendous word. And he's going to be counting the numbers of times that we weave stupendous into our speaking today. And you'll notice that the word is printed on your agenda besides being up here to remind you. So we expect everyone to be able to use the word of the day. Our Tabletopics master, Steve Ahrenholz, distinguished Toastmaster, joined NIOSH Club in April of 1993, and he's a charter member of TV Toastmasters. Tabletopics will help you sharpen your listening and thinking skills, and let us welcome Topics Master Steve Ahrenholz.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Fellow Toastmasters, our honored guests. As Carol mentioned, this is the part of the meeting where we have an opportunity to work on our impromptu speaking skills. A lot of people don't like table topics because it is a bit uncomfortable, but actually I think it's one of the things that we probably use the most in our everyday communication, because we have encounters with people and we don't even know what we're going to be talking about in some of those encounters. I'm going to be calling on several people in our studio audience today, and we will see what kind of stupendous responses we get from them. They don't know what question they're going to be asked at this point in time. You're fortunate we have some extra speakers that more than we thought today. So I have to cut my list of Table Topics questions short. You will get the idea of what my topic is by the questions I'll be asking. Do you think that additional penalties should be applied to drivers that are on the phone, texting, or surfing the web while driving and are then involved in an accident or traffic violation? Why? And if so, what type of penalties would you suggest? And I'm going to call on our area governor this morning to be our first respondent, Janet Caslin. Do you want me to repeat the question?
Yes, please.
Okay. Do you think that additional penalties should be applied to drivers that are on the phone, texting, or surfing the web while driving and are subsequently involved in an accident or traffic violation? Why? For your response, do you think there should be additional penalties? And if so, what type of penalties would you suggest?
Okay, thank you, Mr. Table Topic Master. Yes, I believe there should be some sort of penalty if someone causes an accident because they've been driving while texting, surfing, or on the telephone. Now, there are various things that have been incorporated in cars that hopefully you wouldn't have to be glued to your device. You can have a phone in your car which talks to you, and you can, I think, maybe control it by pushing on your steering wheel. That way you're not taking your hand off the wheel and talking into a phone. So it would just, it's voice activated, you just talk into that, so I would recommend something like that. When we were driving to our vacation in Vermont, my husband and I, we noticed that in some of the states they had texting stops. If you just can't wait, you can stop here and do your text. And it was, and they don't have restrooms, so don't expect to have a restroom at a texting stop. But if you can't wait to do your text, you find some place to pull off to do your text. And as far as surfing the web, well, hopefully no one would have to surf the web. I know that you have to use a GPS sometimes, but hopefully, as complicated as they are for me, I have to have someone in the passenger seat telling me where to go. So hopefully, with all these devices, we'll have other avenues to take. And I guess as far as a penalty, I guess a penalty could be that you have to live without your device for 1 year. Okay.
Thank you, Janet. I was going to say, I thought, Janet's so kind. I was thinking about this, and I thought, well, a good stiff fine and maybe have it retained on your driving record for 7 years, because enforcement is often a problem with a lot of these things. And if you make it sting enough, maybe it'll start to mean something. This week in USA Today, they had an article about the fact that 1 in 4, or 25% of U.S. drivers are surfing the web while driving. And I know just in the last day I've heard about how many people are Facebooking while they're driving. I think this is a growing problem. My next question: do you think that automobile manufacturers are contributing to the problem of distracted driving by equipping their products with an ever-increasing array of electronic and computer/internet/cell phone features? And why or why not? And I'm going to call on our club president, Rick Davis. Do you want me to repeat the question?
No, I heard it.
Okay.
Thank you, Steve, for that stupendous question, because we just went on vacation and we just rented a Ford Edge, which like a 2014 Ford Edge, and it came with so many bells and whistles and backup cameras and distractions. It's pretty amazing. The amount of computing power that's currently in an automobile at right in your face is amazing. It tells you instantaneous gas mileage. It tells you how far you can go on your neck till you have to fill up your next time. It tells you all these things, but they do try to keep it on the wheel so that you're not reaching for things and trying to adjust things. It takes a little while to get used to things like adjusting the radio and all that sort of thing, but they have kept a lot of the internet kinds of things out of the way of the driver, and I think they're being more conscientious about that. The problem is that it's sort of an iterative process as the manufacturers change, the way we do things changes. Twitter becomes an important part of our life, and all these things that have to be dealt with on an immediate basis. So I don't know if it's the fault of the manufacturers, but certainly the drivers need to be aware that they are being distracted and prevent rear-end collisions and all these other bad things from happening. So, thank you.
Thank you, Rick. I know I was traveling for work this last week and we had to get a rental car, and I was trying to figure out where is the cruise control. I never found it, so I don't think it had it, but it is amazing the amount of computerization in vehicles. Another thing that I thought is rather amazing about it is that none of these computer programs are protected as far as any kind of hacking or viruses or anything like that, if someone would have the ability to do that. And if you think about that, that could be another option where someone could really wreak havoc by somehow introducing something into the computerization programs that a lot of our vehicles use. My third question for today is we're going to find out what someone's pet peeves are about driving. Mine is people who are on the phone or on their texting or something, because you can usually tell. But I would like you to share with us one of your pet peeves about other drivers and why it bugs you. Susan?
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Hello, everyone. I think a lot of us probably do have pet peeves about driving. I know I recently saw a Facebook post that said something about the person who is going too slow in front of you is an idiot, and the person who's right on your tail is a maniac. So it doesn't seem to be a happy medium with having a lot of tolerance for our fellow drivers. I recently have tried to become a little bit more tolerant of those who drive differently than I do, as we all have our different ways of approaching things. One of my pet peeves can be the use of technology, although I am guilty of doing it myself. I am a bit addicted to Facebook and some of the other technologies. And I have a real problem because Siri doesn't always understand what I say to her. Maybe Toastmasters will help me in that regard. We need to have a Toastmasters intervention for communicating with Siri. And somebody told me once that part of the reason for that is that Siri was tested a lot with male voices, and that that Siri is not understanding me. So I'm hoping that Siri and I can come to a better relationship, and that will help me somewhat with making phone calls while I'm driving. I usually try not to do that very often, but I do use VZ Navigator, and that does sometimes distract me. And one of the things I've noticed that I'm often at a red light checking something on my phone, and the lights seem to have become shorter since I've started doing this. So it's helped me develop a little bit more tolerance for one of my pet peeves, which was when people wouldn't start to go when the light had turned green. So it's been a humbling experience to learn my own shortcomings, and hopefully I will keep those in mind when pet peeves do occur. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Susan. Yeah, our employer has basically told us when you're on official business and you're driving, you are not to do any kind of cell calls or anything like that, because if it's discovered that you were doing that, it will result in disciplinary action. So when my wife tries to call me if I'm going somewhere, I never pick it up, and she'll say, well, why didn't you answer my call? I say, well, because it was in my briefcase in the trunk, and it doesn't bother you. This concludes our table topics portion of today's meeting, and I will turn it back to our Toastmaster. Madam Toastmaster?
Name an effective political leader in history who couldn't speak well. There aren't any.
Because when it comes to a disease,
Freedom requires leadership, and leadership requires oratory. You have to speak to be heard. I have a dream. It's all about personal growth and guts.
Never give in. Never, never, never.
Always have love. Patti Raggets. And we bring her this wave of energy to bring her up here.
sorry, I'm a little tired today. How open are you to receive and give love? Rumor has it, all we need is love. Love is all we need. 2 months ago, while lying in bed, I heard a God message. It said, gather a love team. Make hearts the size of the palm of your hand. Use red construction paper and put always have love on them. What's that?
Always have. I thought you said
Have, oh. And pass them out on November 11th, 2013. Downtown on Fountain Square. That takes a lot of courage. Going forth with such an assignment was kind of fun. I told my clients, about having to do the assignment. They said, "You're going to end up on the news." They said, "Just say no." Saying no to God has never panned out for me. Gathering the love team was not a challenge. My girlfriend said she was an automatic in. A coworker offered to cut hearts out. A few clients helped get the paper prepared to cut the hearts out. While cutting the hearts, they all commented how meditative it was to do. Then came the tedious task of stamping always have love on them. The morning of November 11th came. I went to check my emails, and one email came in from Darren LaCroix, a fellow Toastmaster. His quote of the day was, "Be the change you want to see in the world," by Gandhi. That is something that I use in my seminars that I teach people. If you want to be the change, if you want to see change, you have to be the change. So now it's time to pick up my girlfriend and head downtown. In the car, we rehearsed what to say. We thought, well, this is going to be easy. We'll just say, "Hi, we're passing out love today." As we were approaching Fountain Square, we got a little nervous. I said, let's just have courage and get started. So we passed out the hearts. We approached everyone. No one got exempt. We even went to the bus stops. What results we found were stupendous. Homeless people were the most receptive to receive. It was like feeding them food. The African American male, they loved it. They offered love in return. Many accepted, many refused. A well-dressed white male stopped in his tracks and said, "Wow, what a cool idea. Thank you. You just made my day." While the well-dressed white woman said, "No thanks, I'm good." On the return home, I stopped by Kroger. In the next checkout aisle next to me was Deborah Dixon from Channel 12 News. I said, "Are you Deborah Dixon?" She said, "Yes, I am," and she introduced herself. And I told her what we had done today. And she said, "Next time you do that, please call me." She offered her business card. She said, "There is not enough good stories to report on the news." I told her I would. When we let love grow inside. It can be shared outwards to give hope. It makes us feel good. It is the most powerful free gift we can offer anyone. It sure brought smiles to many people that day. Can I offer you some love today? Thank you.
Thank you, Patti. Another one that made me gulp. Very stupendous speech. And I'm one of her clients, and I enjoy, she does hair, and I enjoy being in her booth one-on-one with her. She's not talking to anyone else, only to me, and I've learned so much from her just in the 2 times that I've been there with her. And I'll see you Wednesday.
I'd like to begin tonight with a little joke. This guy, he's a farmer, and he says, "Hey, hello, sorry." But seriously, folks.
Speaking in public is no joke.
Farmer says, doctor says, chicken says...
For help, call Toastmasters, the public speaking support group.
The chicken...
Rick is president of Fix Claremont, a nonprofit organization dedicated to ending the euthanasia of healthy and treatable animals in Claremont County. Rick initiated the change that opened the euthanasia list at the county shelter to a local rescue. Listen to his winning proposal to rescue me. Rick Barron. Rescue me? Rick Barron.
Thank you, Carol.
What image comes to your mind when I say the phrase sheltered dog? For most people, that image looks just like this. Most people view shelter animals as broken in some way. Something's wrong with them. That's why they think they're in the shelter. But let me introduce you to some of the animals that you'll find at a local shelter. This is Carrie, 3-year-old Australian cattle dog that was given up to make room for a new baby. This is Crisco. Crisco was found swimming in a dumpster of grease behind a restaurant, near death. This is Sammy, a 1.5-year-old beagle who was relinquished because he barked too much. He's a beagle. That's what beagles do, right? And Atlas, 2-month-old kitten that was found tied in a bag in a limb on a tree. The only defect that these animals share with one another is that they're homeless. My proposal today is to get you to start your search for your next pet at your county's open admission shelter. To start the process with the animals who will die if they're not rescued. We are a nation of pet lovers. Every year, 23.5 million animals are adopted into new homes. But nationally, 3 to 4 million animals are put down every year for lack of time or space. There's a math problem here. We adopt way more animals every year into our homes than we kill. So what's the real problem? The real problem is that us, as their human guardians, have not done sufficient job to let people know their plight and to try to get them to start their search at the open admission shelter or an organization that rescues from the euthanasia list. I have a 4-step plan that I would like you to follow the next time you in the studio audience or you out there in the television viewing audience are out to add a new furry member to your household. Or maybe you have an opportunity to share with a friend who's seeking to add an animal, and you can share this simple 4-step plan. Number 1, locate your county's animal shelter. Most people don't even know where it is, and probably don't even know that it exists. In many cases, it's not convenient, it's not close, it's not in a really nice area of town, but it does exist. Go to Google, type in your county name and animal shelter, and it will show you the website or provide you information that you can now be informed. So when somebody says, you know, I was thinking about adopting a new dog, you can say, you know what, I just found out where the county shelter is. You can go here, they're open at this time, here's the policies and procedures. So you can be informed on how to do that. The second thing I ask you to do is to start your search at the shelter. Bring your checkbook, your credit card, your cash in hand, and start your search at the shelter. You don't have to finish it there, but just start there to see how it goes. I would ask the third step that you return to the shelter. After you've started there, then maybe you've gone to a pet store or two. Go back to the shelter because those animals turn over quickly. And someone may have brought in an animal or they may have found a stray that is perfect for you and your family. And the last step is to share your experience with others. Let them know what you did and the experience that you had, and share that experience with them so that they can be informed to do the same thing. There are a few negatives to this approach. Number 1, the return policy isn't very good. But then again, most pet stores or breeders don't have a very good return policy either, so we could probably push that one off the table. Second negative, it might take a little longer. You might have to visit a few shelters. You might have to come back once or twice. But really the biggest negative is that you'll be forced to look into the eyes of an animal who probably won't be there tomorrow. That's probably the biggest downside. But there are positives to rescuing from a shelter. The first and foremost is that you save a life. Every animal rescued from that shelter lives and has a happy life with you. The second positive is you have a fabulous story. Every time somebody says, where did you get Fluffy or where did you get Fido? You have this wonderful story that you can share with them. And the third reason, you save another life because you make space for another animal in that shelter or at that foster home so that another animal can be rescued. It's our job to communicate the need to rescue these animals. And my proposal is that you start your search at your local county shelter. The rewards that you will receive from doing so will be stupendous. Ms. Toastmaster.
Wow, thank you very much, Rick. And we all have these little, mine someplace, that you have a minute to write something, so we will be right back.
All the education in the world won't help you get ahead in life if you can't express your ideas effectively. Every day, competition for advancement gets tougher and tougher. You need an edge. A Toastmasters club can give you that edge. A low-cost learning experience for men and women. Toastmasters gives you the confidence to express your ideas to anyone. Get the Toastmasters edge.
The commencement address. The commencement address, we are students graduating. Let us welcome Dilip Kamath.
Thank you. Hello, everyone. How are you all doing? Great, great. So thank you, Board of Directors. Thank you, leaders of the school, for inviting me to speak to all new graduates. They asked me to share some pearls of wisdom from my 15 to 20 years as a management consultant, and here I am. But before I do that, teachers, parents, and students, how about a round of applause for all the teachers and parents out there who have made this happen? Next, all teachers and parents there, how about a round of applause for the new graduates who are our tomorrow? So I'm going to be speaking from my heart. So I have a little bit of notes, but nothing fancy, nothing very difficult. And this is what I believe in truly in my heart, in every action, in everything I do. So let's go back 20, 25 years. I grew up in India. That's the lens I use in my everyday interaction. It gives me a new dimension of appreciation of what I have and what I become. So what I learned, I apply the same techniques in meetings, in conversations, in interactions. So are you ready? So here we go. Number one, finish. Really, really finish what you start. Very few people believe and remember a good start, but everyone believes a good finish. So finish. Number two, all great things in life are done by people who have passion. Whatever you do, do it with passion. I just got back from Tokyo, Japan last night. 2 weeks in Tokyo. And I tell you, it is one of the greatest feelings going to a new country and experiencing new things. But what's important? I can assure you there are 150 to 200 messages on my iPhone from my colleagues, from my friends, from my family, but none of that is important to me right now. Right now, right here, you are my center. Passion. Number three, choices. It is the choices you make that define you. No labels, no starting points. Nothing else matters. It's the choices you make. Number four, attitude, a positive attitude. My first job after graduating from engineering was getting reports from the printer, from a mainframe printer, and making coffee for the executive director. And remember, these were no Starbucks fancy coffees. These were silly coffee machines. And I made coffee. And I picked reports of the printer. And I and my buddy are sitting at lunch, and we're thinking, what a miserable existence. 4 years of electrical engineering, supposed to be the most complex engineering subject that is there. And here we are printing reports, reading, getting reports for our executive director. Then a light bulb went on in my head. Imagine what if they make us do important things. We can make a boatload of money. Positive attitude. Do everything you can with positive things, because good things will happen. Another thing about positive attitude, next time someone asks you, how are you doing? Don't say fine. Nobody wants to be with that person who just says fine. Say, I'm doing great. Why? Why not? I have a great career, great family and friends, everything to be thankful of. Why not? I'm great. So remember these 4, 5 things. Number 1, finishing. Number 2, passion. Number 3, choices. Number 4, positive attitude. And a final thought. People want to be inspired. You cannot be a great leader at what you do if you do not inspire people. They won't follow you because you are a smart person. They won't follow you because there is something in it for them. At the end of the day, people follow only those that make them feel better. So go and inspire. Finally, in the words of Margaret Thatcher, at least that's what this quote is attributed to. Guard your thoughts, because they become words. Guard your words, because they become actions. Guard your actions, they become your character. Guard your character, they become your destiny. So what you think, the new graduates, is what you will become. Thank you, and in Japanese, arigatou gozaimasu.
Thank you very much. And now for our next speaker, Stanley Glitchner.
Speaking in public doesn't have to be a death sentence. At Toastmasters, we can help you overcome your fears.
Let us welcome General Evaluator Michelle Lewis.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. As Carol mentioned, we are now moving into the final portion of our meeting, and the evaluation portion of our meeting is very critical because it allows our speakers and our participants to get feedback and to help them improve and to continue to evolve as speakers and leaders. I can't do this part of the meeting without my team. My stupendous team includes 3 evaluators, myself, Paul Wessels is going to be evaluating Rick Barron, and Janet Kesselman, did I say that correct? Kesselman is going to be evaluating Dilip. I also have the grammarian, who's Paul Wessels, and then our timer for today was Susan Russell. So this team will help me give stupendous feedback to the participants in today's meeting. So without further ado, I will introduce the first evaluator, Michelle Lewis. Thank you. I had the privilege of evaluating a stupendous speech today by Patti. Patti, wow, what a story, and that is one we will definitely all remember when we leave today. You started out, well, I'm gonna take a step back, I apologize. I want to actually call out her objectives for the speech. So Patti, you had to select an appropriate outline which allows your listeners to easily follow and understand your speech. You have to make your message clear and support it with direct material, and use appropriate transitions and create a strong opening and conclusion. You did that. You captured our attention right away. You opened with the question about giving, or are you ready to receive love, and do you want love, and all you need is love. So you really kind of all made us sit there and think, what is she talking about today? You made us all pay attention. and then you told a story. And that's really what captures the attention of audiences, is when you give a personal story or experience, and you did that. You gave us supporting material, you told us how all of this evolved, and then eventually what the results were. You used emotion, and you did a really good job of controlling it. It was a very touching story, and you could tell you got a little bit emotional, but you were able to really calm yourself down and go right back into the story. You even got Toastmaster Carol choked up, so that's a really good thing. You used quotes, so you did a lot of things that experienced Toastmasters do. You started with a strong opening, a conclusion, you used quotes, you used supporting material. You did a stupendous job, especially considering you prepared this last night from what you said. So I would have never known. I would have never known. The only thing that I can say from a feedback standpoint is you did lose your track of your note one time, but considering you wrote it last night, not a big deal. But this is a story that you know. You're the expert in it. You probably didn't need to go back and find your spot because you know the story. We would have never known if you wouldn't have actually tried to find your spot. So just when you're giving a speech about a topic that you know so well, we don't know what you missed or what you skipped, so just keep going with your story. You had a ton of great vocal variety. I love when you talked about powerful. You really powerfully ejected that word. Your transitions were very, very smooth. And then your conclusion was stupendous. I love the fact that you asked us a question. You said, "Are you ready for love?" And then you actually handed out the love. So that's something all of us will leave today and remember, that we received love at Toastmasters. So fantastic job. Your second speech, you're way further than I ever was, and I look forward to hearing more. Thank you. Oh, I guess and now I'd like to introduce our second evaluator, Paul Wessels. Paul will be evaluating Rick Barron on another fantastic speech that Rick did today. So Paul Wessels.
Thanks a lot, Michelle. Yes, I'm here to evaluate Rick Barron. Rick, behind the camera now. The title of the speech was Rescue Me. This speech came from the Persuasive Speaking Manual number 3. The objective of this speech was to advocate some sort of idea or course of action, and I think he did that very well. The objective that I took out of it was basically twofold. One, to make us aware of the situation with the animal shelters, but two, the call of action or the objective of the speech is actually to get us to start searching. If you're going to actually get an animal or a pet, look at those shelters. I like the speech. The beginning was good because it started out with a question, and the question was provocative. When you think of shelter dog, what do you think about? So everybody had that in their mind, and then he went on to the visual aids to say, you know, this is maybe what some people think about, but it's not that. So he's educating us, so he's teaching us about the situation in the shelters, and he pulled at the heartstrings. Of course, those pictures were fantastic. He used statistics, so he came up with, and the basic gist of the statistics was, look, there's more than enough people that want pets. They could easily take up the inventory from the shelters. So that's basically, with statistics telling us, it is very possible to do what he wants us to do, or the objective of the speech. The call of action was very good. There were 4 specific calls of action that he gave us, and he laid them out. Basically, locate your shelter. That's being logistical and practical. So find out where that shelter is in your community. And then the call to action, I think the objective was start, when you're looking for a pet, start at that shelter. You don't have to get one there, but at least start looking at that shelter. Return to the shelter, give it a second chance, so give it a chance, and then share it with others. So very good with the calls of action. It gave us a nice 4-step plan. And then he gave us the results. What would happen if you did these things? So he's telling us what we're projecting into the future. So it gives us a nice projection into the future, which is fantastic. The negative, he talked about a little about the returns, but he says, you know, it may take a little bit longer. He's being realistic, as opposed to going to a store where you're getting a little cute little puppies and all that, but being realistic there. And then it forces us to look into the eyes of the animals that are actually going to be destroyed. So again, he's pulling at our heartstrings, but he says there's very positive things that come with doing this. You save a life, you get a good story, and that's kind of everybody wants to know what's in it for them other than the pet. You also get a good story, so he's really feeding us well there. And you save another life, which is something you don't think about. You're going to save another. So it was very concise, very well done. What I liked about the speech, it was very relevant. There was a need. It's a relevant need, and it's statistically possible to fulfill that need. And he let us know about it. Improvement areas, he's so good. I can only put a couple things down. I guess you could always just gesticulate a little bit more and maybe and it was dramatic enough, some dramatic pauses, maybe be a little bit more dramatic, but again, these are just shades of gray here. Everything was fantastic. I thought I had to at least give some sort of feedback there. What I liked most about the speech was the visual aids, because I think a picture's worth 1,000 words. Of course, you had the cute dogs up there, and it really pulled at the heartstrings. So fantastic speech, like always, and looking forward to more. Thank you. It was stupendous. I had to get that.
I can say I'm lucky that you didn't actually bring any of those cute little pets, because I might be going home with a friend today. So evaluating our third speaker will be our Area 52 Governor, Janet Castleton. She will be evaluating Dilip's speech. Janet?
Thank you, Journal Evaluator, and thank you, TV Toastmasters, for letting me participate in the meeting and do Dilip's evaluation. Dilip, I think you did a wonderful job of giving us words of wisdom, how to live our lives by. Well, you gave it to the students of the commencement. And one thing you said at the beginning of the speech was that you were from India, and you said, I grew up in India, and that's the lens I use. And I was thinking maybe of learning something about what you learned when you grew up in India. Maybe you could have included a story there. You did give us a story about one of your first jobs as an engineer, and you said something like, well, what if they asked us to do more meaningful tasks? You tried to look at it as a positive attitude. And let's see, you had 4 main points of your speech, and you added a 5th and a 6th. Maybe you didn't need to make it like a 5th and a 6th point or something. Maybe you could have wrapped up your 4 points in the conclusion. But I did, enjoy the words of inspiration, the quote from Margaret Thatcher, and I'm glad I think you were sharing all the wisdom you've learned from your 20 years of management, and you're very confident up here. You come across the audience really well, and I think that you did a stupendous job with your inspire your audience. Well, thank you.
And now I'm going to call up Paul. Paul's going to give us feedback on our use of the word of the day, and then grammatical errors, as well as good grammar. So Paul, please come on up.
Thanks, Michelle. The word of the day was stupendous, and I think we've used it a lot today. I'm going to just go down by name here and give you my feedback on what happened as the grammarian. Susan, a couple of ums, and you had you're an person. I do a lot of uhs when I'm up here, and usually when you had two of those, you had a double clutch. You said do a couple times, so I don't know where that. But I don't think any stupendous words there. I didn't catch it, and I don't catch anything. When you're evaluating someone else and you're worried about your own speeches and things like that, I tend to, like everyone else, I just said, focus on myself. And that's one thing I want to learn here is to focus on others. And when you have to listen to this sort of thing throughout the speech, it really makes you focus and listen. So, Janet, you had stupendous one time that I caught. A lot of uhs, and again, when you're up here evaluating, uhs tend to come out. You're an person, so you did several uhs. A couple double clutches. You did say, I think maybe a couple times. Dilip, you're 3 times is what I caught. Patti, stupendous. I caught one of them that you said. You did a lip smack. I didn't know what they were until I came here, and Carol taught me what a lip smack was at the end of the sentence. You had one lip smack, so I'll throw that in. You had an I caught one Rick Davis, stupendous. You had one in there. You're like me. I'm an person. Lots of uhs. You had an as, kind of a double clutch. Carol, many times. Carol was up here a lot. She used the word, I caught it 4 times, stupendous. She had a couple double clutches. She was double clutching today. Viewee, she said viewee. And another one, implication. I think she said twice. I just said it twice. Steve, 1 stupendous. Steve's always good. I'm always trying to find something with Steve, but he didn't have any uhs or anything like that. Rick Barron, 1 stupendous. Again, somebody you can't find anything. Usually you've got to really look hard for Rick. Michelle, 3 times. You were up here a lot, but you stupendous 3 times. Double clutch, you said position, and something else, constants or something else. I can't even read my writing twice. So a couple double clutches. Myself, lots of us. I'm up here saying lots of us. Carol got me 20 times or something last time. But I did say stupendous right at the end there. So that's my report. It's grammarian.
And now I would like to call up our newest member, Susan, who will be giving us the timers report. Susan?
Thank you. All right. I hope that I timed everything that I was supposed to time. Janet's table topic was 2 minutes and 17 seconds. Rick Davis was 1 minute and 37 seconds, and mine was 1 minute and 52 seconds. For the speeches, Patti Raggets, and by the way, the speeches were stupendous, all of them. Patti Raggets was 6 minutes and 5 seconds. The second speaker, Rick Barron, was 7 minutes and 27 seconds. And Dilip was 6 minutes and 14 seconds. For the evaluators, sorry, I have these scrambled on my sheet. So Michelle Lewis was 3 minutes and 18 seconds, I believe. Janet, no, I'm sorry, that's number 3. Paul Wessels was 3 minutes and 48 seconds, and Janet was 2 minutes and 34 seconds. And our grammarian spoke, Paul Wessels spoke for 2 minutes and 30, can't read my writing, 2 minutes and 39 seconds. Thank you.
And just to wrap up, I'd like to give a few comments about our flow of the meeting today. So we did start a few minutes late. I arrived 10 minutes late, so I probably contributed to some of that. But I want to say our studio looks fantastic today for the holiday season. We have Santa Steve back there on camera, so he gets an A for effort in the spirit category. Carol did a fantastic job of explaining the meeting today, so she always makes sure that everyone looking in at home understands the flow. Did a fantastic job of explaining the roles and then also letting them know where we're at in the meeting. Let's see, Steve, table topics very relevant to a current topic. I think we all, as soon as the topic of driving and texting and pet peeves came up, we all started racking our brain for how many examples we had. Let's see, and I'm using the word, lots of great word today, Paul, lots of use of that. Sometimes we get the words that people aren't able to easily incorporate, and you gave us one that was very easy to incorporate. The speeches today were fantastic. I have to say that this is probably one of the most memorable set of 3 speeches that I've heard in a long time. 3 completely different types, 3 different levels, but all of them stupendous. We had a great team of evaluators. Paul, you always do a great job. Janet, you did a great job. I do want to say I forgot to start out with the objectives, and that was something maybe Janet, sometimes it's good if you actually give us the objectives up front. I started into mine, and then I was like, I forgot to do it. So sometimes that helped those looking at home trying to understand what the person was going to achieve. Felt like there was a little bit of a pounding today on the lectern. I don't know if I was just being sensitive. I think Carol got excited a few times and might have pounded. And I don't know if it might have been Susan. A couple times we just have to be careful because the microphone's here, so it's very easy to get excited and want to pound on the lectern. But other than that, a stupendous meeting. And now I will turn it back to our Toastmaster.
Thank you, Madam General Evaluator, for that stupendous job. In fact, this whole meeting was stupendous. I thought it was extremely impressive, the quality of the speeches and everything. One of the things that I would like to point out, which I'm learning myself, Janet did such a good job when she had to glance at her notes. It was not head down, it was merely eyes down. So she's still keeping contact with the audience, and that's one of the things that I'm trying to learn, is to keep eyes down and not put my head down when I'm wanting to read something. We all did a great job, I thought, and I enjoyed the meeting, and I have little love notes for everyone of the speakers there. And I'd like to return control. Rick will ask the guests for comments, which we have Janet's our guest here. So return to our president, Rick Davis.
Well, thank you all for coming today. Thank you all for watching from home. And I want to wish everyone a happy holiday season. And we will see you next time at TV Toastmasters.